like to talk to you about basically the benefits of becoming a Massachusetts green community. I think you know some of this background already, what the requirements are, where we stand, and how we would meet the remaining requirements of becoming a green community. For those watching at home who want the 30-second version, it's the right thing to do. It's the smart thing to do for the town's long-term fiscal and sustainability. It saves everyone money. We're already doing a lot of it, and the parts that we're not doing, we're probably going to have to do anyway. So that's the 5-second version of it. When we take a few minutes and walk through the other pieces. I want to spend some time on the benefits, because when people talk about becoming a Massachusetts green community, they tend to talk about, oh, there's some dollars here, dollars there. There is a lot more. First of all, on a very large scale, we all understand the need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and we'd like to provide a healthy environment for our community. The part that I want to spend a minute on that gets very little attention, but it is extremely important, is the impact on healthcare costs and decreased mortality. When the Environmental Protection Agency takes any action, they have to do a cost-benefit analysis. And this is a cost-benefit analysis for one of their major initiatives, which is a rule that is going to clean up the remaining power plants in the Midwest. Okay? And you can see what I've highlighted. It's going to cost about $2.8 billion. The estimates of the benefits, now these are just the financial benefits, not the human benefits, range from $120 to $290 billion from reducing that pollution. So when you reduce the amount of fossil fuels we use significantly, you effectively decarbonize the economy, you get these benefits. And the numbers are stark. Now this is for the eastern United States, okay? This isn't just us or even Massachusetts, but it's a very large number. You look at the number of people who will not die early and the reduction in hospital admissions and others. The numbers are staggering. So one of the things to remember when we talk about doing these things is the impact it has. When we look at the big challenges facing us as a society, Medicare, Medicaid, and healthcare costs, some of the biggest, this will have an impact. Comfort and quality of life, anyone who spends some time and money enhancing their home, increasing its energy efficiency, understands you are more comfortable, there's a better quality of life. From a sustainability point of view, the long-term sustainability, one of the key determinants is reducing volatility and reducing uncertainty. And one of the most volatile things, one of the most uncertain things we deal with is the cost of energy. So the less energy we use, the more energy we can generate ourselves, generate from local sources, the better our sustainability. Economic development, there's a local and there's a national implication. The local implication is that if we are able to reduce the cost of owning and operating facilities, we are more attractive to businesses. Real estate costs are significant, as are the cost of energy and running a real estate facility. And frankly, it's now the baseline. Anybody who builds commercial buildings, they may be doing LEED, they may be doing green, energy efficient. It's what people want, and financially it just doesn't make any sense to build it any other way. So on the commercial side, there is no battle. The discussion's over. That's what they build. They may not build LEED Platinum, but they build energy efficient buildings. Homes are less expensive to own, and they're more attractive to buyers. And the last point is, I think, an important one. It's a psychological point. People want to be validated in their choice of a community to come to. So when we show that we are taking steps to be a more sustainable community, be a smarter community long-term, that helps people validate, in essence, what they did by coming here, and I would not underestimate the significance of that. Saving energy means saving money. We talk about this a lot, but it's important. When we reduce the municipal energy we use, we save taxpayer dollars, and we promote confidence in municipal government. It's only anecdotal, but I will bet people feel better about the school committee ever since they don't drive by the high school and see those lights burning anymore. These are little things, but they really promote confidence in all things people don't see. Residents save money, obviously, because they use less energy, and businesses save money. Now, these savings benefit the local economy, and that cannot be underestimated. We are not an energy state. We do not produce any energy. We do not get a financial benefit from what we spend on energy. I have two data points that I use just to help people kind of think about this. We use a lot of petroleum in this country. We get a lot of it from overseas. You do a little back-of-the-envelope calculation. You look at the 30,000 people who live in Needham, and this is probably a conservative estimate. By our use of petroleum products, everything we use, we take $14.6 million every year, we, the 30,000 people who live here, and send it to OPEC nations. That is not a smart thing to do. Some of that money ends up killing our soldiers overseas. This does not make a lot of sense. 10% of that, $1.4 million, I'd rather have that working here in the community. Money we don't spend can be recycled here much more effectively. Our fiscal year 2011 energy budget is about $3.3 million. We save 10% of that. That's 4 teachers and 2 firefighters. They spend their money here. They give us services. It's not money going to Canada, Texas, or someplace else. So there's a real good reason to keep that money here in the economy. And I make the same point when I meet with business groups, and they get that. They want to see people spending their money here. Now the funding. There is, in fact, funding for Massachusetts green communities. They're funded by what's called the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. That's a cap-and-trade system in the 10 Northeast states, reducing power plant emissions. It's the thing everybody was so afraid of, but it happens to work here. We generate about $8 to $9 million yearly that goes into this program. They're significant because they're not subject to a budget process, legislative appropriation, or 9C cuts. Comes out of this auction, goes straight to this program. In May, the first group of towns that receive funding are peer towns, roughly our size, receive between $150,000 and $200,000 to do something, an energy efficiency project for renewable energy. Realistically, just like the CPA, it will become more competitive. So we should get in, get our money while we can, and take advantage of this funding. Secondly, there's going to be increasing preference from the DOE and from the state for other grant programs. And I've had conversations with them. That's clearly their intent. First one that happened last month, small program. They're looking for communities who wanted to do electrical vehicle charging stations. Small grant, but they indicated we're going to give preference to communities that are green communities. And we will see more of that as the federal government rolls out programs like this. When I came to you a year and a half ago at your goal setting, these are all words out of your goals. So we're kind of asking you to do something that you want to do already and you're saying you're working on. And finally, the last point, and this is an important one because we look at a lot of incentives, a lot of reasons people do things. And there's financial reasons. But one of the most powerful reasons that people do anything is social norms. You know, we're a recycling community. People move here even if they didn't recycle. That's what we do here. We see it in education. We see it in almost everything we do. We want to create a social norm. And that's why it's important not just to do these things, but to actually get the designation and make it very public that you're a green community. So it's buy-in for the work that you're doing, the town manager is doing to be more sustainable. It helps groups like mine, Green Needham, and others to encourage people to do more, and enhances our image, and that is important. People look at image. Given the reasons to do it, there are 5 requirements that you have to meet, and I want to focus on that last one because the last one gets talked about a lot as adopting an energy code, and people think of a lot of requirements and a lot of paperwork. But the actual requirement is to minimize the life cycle cost of owning and operating buildings. Our buildings as a municipality, businesses, and homes. And so the stretch code is a way to do that. I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but that's what it's there for. It's there so people can save money on their buildings. Now, where we are, I said before, we're already doing a lot of this. If you look at the requirements I've met, and we've met with the planning board and planning director, they are very interested in this. They are ready to proceed with the necessary as-of-right siting at the RTS, which provides control because the town owns the land, and therefore nothing happens there that you don't want to have happen. And frankly, their comment was, even if we didn't have money, this is a good thing to do. So they're ready to move forward. That's where we're talking about putting a Met tower for the wind turbine. We've looked at the possibility there could be solar there. So it's a good fit for that. The planning director feels very confident. Our process enables us to meet the requirement. We already do this, in other words. Municipal energy use baseline. Chip, since he came on board, has done an incredible job building an energy baseline. In fact, we had an Olin student who worked for the EPA early in Green Needham, who was one of the first people to work on that several years ago. And the town manager last year and the superintendent worked together and did a 5% energy challenge. So you're already doing those things. You just need to take the next step. Fuel efficient vehicles, we already do that. We bought some hybrids. The requirement is not buying hybrids, it's buying fuel efficient vehicles. There's an exception for vehicles that aren't available. They're not looking for hybrid fire trucks. They don't exist. So this is fairly straightforward. And I think there's general agreement in the conversations I've had with people that we're on board on these. The last one is the one that causes a little bit more of a challenge. We're not on the leading edge here anymore. This is being done. 58 municipalities have already done this. The ones on the left are the towns we compare ourselves to, and they've done it already. 35 of them were designated green communities, and frankly, I expect as of November town meetings that most of the rest of the 58 will probably be coming forward. Okay, so we're in good company. Energy codes are not a foreign, odd thing that there's a whole new requirement. We've had them for a long time. There was a code in place since 2008. In fact, you probably didn't know this, most people don't. We already have a more energy efficient energy code. As of July 1st, it's 10% more efficient, and there's some changes. The world has not ended, it's not been a big deal. The stretch code goes 20% beyond that. Okay? And in fact, the Green Communities Act requires adoption of these new energy codes as they come out. And the practical impact of that is in 2012, there will be a code, the IECC, International Energy Conservation Code 2012, and Massachusetts will adopt that as its standard code within about a year of its being done. So we're going to do this anyway. Why not do it now? Why not do it early? Why not take advantage of it? It covers new construction additions and renovations. For commercial, new constructions and additions over 5,000 square feet, all renovations of commercial space are exempt. And for specialized facilities, laboratories, supermarkets, things that have odd energy requirements, under 40,000 are exempt, over it's covered. What's different about this? Why is this not your father's energy code, if you will? It's results oriented. So the objective of it is to deliver performance, not put a lot of prescriptive requirements in place. And the goal is it reduces the cost of owning and using buildings. It empowers property owners to achieve those savings by making the decisions and trade-offs that meet their needs. It doesn't tell them what to do. It gives them a whole menu of options. They can choose how to achieve the code. They just have to achieve the goal. And finally, it provides a quality assurance because it actually measures the results of what you've said you're going to build. So you can tell if you're getting the results you want. I'll give a very brief example of a prescriptive code versus a performance. A prescriptive code, if I tell you you have to put R30 insulation in the walls, inspector goes in, oh, that's R30, close up the walls, you're done. That's a prescriptive code. Doesn't mean you're going to get the results of doing that, because in fact, if the insulation isn't installed correctly, you could lose about half the value. And there's a lot of things that are like that in our code. So by doing what's called a performance code and doing a measurement after you're done, you actually see that you achieved the results that you got. So from the homeowner's perspective, they're getting what they paid for. From the builder's perspective, they're being rewarded for doing a good job. And that's the goal of this code. You may have heard about a HERS index, which is how this code is implemented at the residential level. A standard new home built to current code, that's the energy use of that home. Most homes in Needham are probably 120, 130 or more, older homes. A new home or addition has to go 30% below that, or 35 if it's a large home, less for renovation. So the property owner makes the decisions, and I won't take the time, but I have some scenarios that show different ways you can do it. If you want to do it with light insulation, you can do it. If you want to do a high-performance heating system, you can do it. If you want to do it by just making sure the house is tight, lots of ways to do it. It's up to you as the property owner, business or individual. Okay? And you get quality assurance of the work and the results. For our code officials, compliance and inspections are fundamentally the same as the base code. They retain the authority. In fact, there may be some advantages because this is measured by a professional and measures the results. You're not arguing over, well, if I did it this way, this would be better. Well, you can't do it that way. I'm not sure you can do it that way. From an energy perspective, they measure the results. Makes it easier for everyone, and I think less controversial. Bottom line is when you build to the stretch code, it provides significant financial benefits to the owner. And those are the people. Owners, municipality, owners, your taxpayers, owners, your businesses. Those are the people you want to help, and that's the objective of this code. For residential, it's small. Frankly, for some people, I've talked to some builders who, just the way they build, as far as they're concerned, there's not a cost premium. 30% reduction in your energy costs, so there's a net cash savings. Up to several $1,000s a year. I'm not going to take the time. There's some scenarios that have been done for different size homes. I shared them with Kate. I can share them with you. On the commercial side, there was a lot of thought, a lot of discussion a couple years ago. It's going to cost 15, 20% more to do this. It doesn't. Recent study looked at 150 buildings built around the world. 2% cost premium commercial. The rates of return on these projects can be 30% or greater. And if you get involved in a business, you get a rate of return like that, you do it. No questions. And it's cash. For a business, it's important cash flow positive day one. So they're not investing a lot of money and waiting 5 years for it to come back. They see the savings immediately. So from a bottom line perspective, the code makes sense. It shouldn't be too onerous, and it's going to give our property owners an advantage because their homes are going to be more efficient and they're going to save money. So that's the bottom line for doing that. I'm hoping that with us doing a number of the things we need to do, with this being the only remaining large issue, that we could move this one forward by showing that, hey, on the commercial side we're doing it, on the residential side it's going to benefit our property owners, our taxpayers. And if we did that, you would have to make the commitment to becoming a green community, adopting the energy reduction plan, committing to buying energy efficient vehicles, and adopting the code. The planning board would do the as-of-right zoning and the commitment to the expedited permitting. As I said, their comment to me when I finished talking to them is, when the selectmen say they're ready to do this, we'll do it. We're ready to go. We're ready to go for next year. At the annual town meeting, if we were to go forward and do this, we would vote to adopt the bylaw changes and the stretch energy code that has to be adopted by a vote at town meeting. And then there's an eight-page designation form the town manager submits to DOER, and then we are a green community. So I respectfully ask, and I would like you to consider making this happen this year so that we can start to receive some of these benefits.